Go at Scam School Brian.
Yeah, Justin.tv/ScamSchoolBrian. We're live right now. And I guess I'll go ahead and write here. We'll do Weird Things Podcast.
I want my mommy! I want my mommy!
I like the directorial decision to continue the script going during the credits.
No, it's good.
Right until the end. Okay, for the record, I'm actually, I'm sure there are people in the chat room I won't know because I'm not going to look. And I'm just going to set this to where we'll do the quad thingy. And then, as we normally do, it will be just us doing our thing. The only difference is we're going to try to make it all live to tape. Right?
Yes, which also means that I need to get my ad reads and hold on.
Oh, we may need to. Can you check and see if we have all our sponsors then if we're going to go live to tape? Wake up, eat some coffee.
Brian, I'm getting a weird thing from you, like you're frozen or something.
Oh,
Well, it's actually going like very slow. It's very odd.
how about now? Does it look all right to you, Andrew?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, yeah. Now it's rock and rolling.
All right. Shutting down.
I want to have spooky lighting. Hold on.
Yeah, we all have spooky lighting. What's up with you, bro? In fact, actually. That doesn't look very spooky. I guess I could. Still not very spooky. Oh well. Whatevers. Unless maybe. Nah, never mind.
All right. Everybody also, here's the thing. This is a shakedown. We need one more sponsored spot.
We can't start until you sponsor.
So that's happening. So we're going to try to record it, so I have to learn to tape.
Check, check, check. Testing. Boop. The Grendel Shadow. Now available in the Amazon Kindle store.
Probably be releasing the audiobook this week too.
Man, the only thing even better is if you also gave away the audiobook for free in serial installments in a podcast.
Oh, Brian. I mean, we're awesome.
That's a really great idea.
We're awesome, but I mean, come on. Do we look like Donald Trump here?
All right, I'm going to turn off the fan. I need yeah, whatever. Do we have money? Did you check the account?
I like the idea that we're actually, folks, not waiting to start fourth. It is like, oh no, we're not starting to sell these spots. No, Hey, guess what happened today? Oh, I'm not going to tell you guys.
All
Like, we
right,
wouldn't
yeah,
even
now
talk-
we got it.
we wouldn't even
shook
talk
down,
to
we
each other.
shook down Billy Meeks.
I feel like the biggest whore in the world. And just for your pleasure, watch this.
We turn and we're just dead inside. We're like, you don't get any of the
Exactly.
life.
You know, Brian, it really makes me feel like a total slut for money. The only thing that makes me feel better is this can of Coca-Cola. Crisp, refreshing.
All right, I'm hitting record. Check a testy 1, 2. How about you, Andrew?
I am testy.
Let me bump you up. Justin?
Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Right on. All right. I'm feeling it. Ready.
All right. I'm closing out the chat room too. Not that I don't love you guys. I just that I'll have the habit of actually looking and reading what people say, and then I'll get caught and busted for it, and my friends will embarrass me.
That's right.
Yes. I have turned over my phone. I am closing the email.
Lights are out. It's weird things after dark. Weirder things.
The only thing I'm leaving open is the William Meeks ad copy.
All right. Want me to get this started?
Yeah, Andrew, just do me a favor, since you are the point guard of this here podcast. Is when we're done with like a topic, just kind of give me a signal so I don't just launch into an ad read and you're like, whoa! But what I really want to know is what you guys think about this.
All right. You don't only have to tell me once.
Somebody's got room tone
I only
in the back.
tell you once.
Is that me?
Let me try muting one of you at a time. Yeah, it's definitely Andrew.
See what I can do. I've got.
I mean, it's not a disaster.
Yeah, it's not. It might be the computer.
In
Which
fact,
is noisy.
actually, if we get a plain slate of the room tone, Cool Edit has a really good noise destroying thing. Where I'll just do a remove the noise thing before I send it over, or I'll send you 2 versions. Andrew? Andrew? The darkness swallowed
Yes?
Andrew! Oh. So scary there for a second. I really am in love with the fact that it's clearly scotch taped on there.
No, Brian, I don't think you should focus in on the little production details like that. I think you need to focus on the story.
I should have focused on her bigger vision, you're right, because she was clearly...
Exactly, you know, like, oh, those cassettes are clearly not real. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Einstein. I thought we actually went to another planet in order to film this. This wasn't
Put
shot
a
on
trick on the
location.
dinosaur's head.
This wasn't shot on Pandora.
I just love the fact that she said, you know what this dinosaur needs is a tree on its head.
That's right.
I think it was a pretty in your face commentary on environmentalism in the modern age, and I think it was ham-fistedly delivered, Penny. So next time be a little subtler.
Workman-like.
Wow. All right. So I guess that's happening.
And you're obsessed with my use of the word workmanlike.
It's anytime you give a critique now, I'm going to use that. And it's you're obsessed with the word, so I will use it. Whatever.
Workmanlike is the new white belt for your criticism of my criticisms.
No, it's a word from your vocabulary. That's all I'm saying.
Ready.
All right, here we go.
All right.
Shutting down Twarder.
We good?
Yeah.
We're not just good, Andrew. We're the best.
All right, let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Weird Things Podcast. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Mr. Brian Brushwood
Hello, people of the earth.
and Justin Robert Young.
With a very workmanlike performance this week.
Blue collar.
We'll see. We'll see. So, I'm fine, Brian. Thanks for asking. Thank you. Thank you for asking.
That's
Now,
a-
Andrew, what's going on in your life there?
It was amazing. I was just thinking, I wonder how Andrew's doing. He never has a second cup at home. And then all of a sudden you were asking. This is like a genuine ESP event that just happened.
Well, because you were thinking about it because I put the thought in your brain with my
Right.
telekinesis.
So you had
And you are concerned because...
because you're clearly sitting alone in a very dark basement, and I'm very frightened for you.
Well, perhaps it's the safest place for me to be at, Brian, because...
Of the killer tornadoes attacking all across America.
which I would welcome instead of the...
Kraken.
The loneliness of not having enough reviews on the Amazon store for your new book, The Grendel Shadow.
That's
The
doing pretty
Kraken's
good.
brother, McCracken.
All right, guys. You know, I'm gonna have a little bone to pick here. Okay.
Kraken 2, Electric Boogaloo.
All right. All right. Can we be serious for a moment here? Okay. I'm gonna. This
Please,
is like,
all right.
we do a thing called the Weird Things Podcast. We have a
Yeah,
blog
yes.
called Weird Things.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about weird things,
We do.
and I'm living life on the edge here, guys. I'm really
Not
trying
unlike
to go
Aerosmith.
forward and go do this, and I kind of feel like you guys are just sort of kind of just riding on my wake.
You think we're riding on your coattails,
That too.
surfing your wake.
That you actually have
yes.
We're
your
waking.
coattails in the water of a speeding boat for which is creating a wake.
Yes, that is correct, sir. Maybe stowaways too.
Well, I'm sorry, Andrew. Maybe we have been kind of phoning it in lately. What
I
can
think
we
so,
do
probably.
to do our part for this organization?
Well, Brian, first is you could congratulate me, because raise your hand if you've seen a chupacabra. For our audio listeners, I'm the only one holding my hand up because I'm the only one here who's actually seen a chupacabra. Thank you. Yep, me chupacabra encounter happened.
I don't. I mean,
What?
I'm trying.
that
to,
was, of
Justin
course,
knows
on
about
the
it.
Weird
He's just too
Things
jealous to
blog.
bring it up. You know, Brian, I know you're busy. Whatever it is that you do.
I'm just trying to figure out where I could find a chupacabra so I could do my part and
I
see
didn't go
one.
out looking for the chupacabra, Brian. He found me.
I forgive me, Andrew. Not that I've ever accused you of not being forthright and honest, but I find your story incredibly difficult to believe. Would you give me more details? How did you meet the chupacabra?
All right, so it's like this. Going through a walk in a park in South Florida, which I do a lot. I like to walk in parks in South Florida. Okay, I like girls. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Public parks.
Okay, let's make that clear. And it's where I think it's
Meet
kind of
new
my
friends.
meditative place. I turn off the phone, don't listen to that, don't check my email. I try to do this like an hour, 2 hours a day, and it takes me some interesting parks. It's just one of the things I do. And I was in one that I'm familiar with, and I actually know a ranger there who once found a giant snake there. And I'm walking on my path, and all of a sudden, it's like the birds stopped chirping. I could feel the wind. Something in the back of my head started to tingle. And I looked ahead of me, further up on the path, and I saw two eyes staring right at me.
It was a
First, I
hobo.
saw the eyes. Then I saw the head, and then I saw the body. Hunched over, like a hunchback, tiny little paws on the ground, its rear haunches on the ground. It just turned and stared at me, okay? Had no hair, okay? Had sharp little fangs, beady little eyes staring right at me.
And you don't think it was a dog like a Chihuahua, one of the Mexican hairlesses?
No, Brian, this clearly did not have dog anatomy.
They
okay?
got bald cats too now. They're like genetically engineered, bred to be bald.
Brian,
Bald
I
is
can't
beautiful.
rule out that maybe some form of genetic engineering was involved. Okay, I mean, I can't throw this wasn't, but you see, this is it, Brian. Okay, maybe you would have just been like, oh wow, that's weird. Okay, maybe I'm gonna run away now. Okay, no, not I.
I would have run away.
I make eye contact with this thing. It scurries into the bushes. Now you got to understand. Okay, now you
Wait,
guys are
hold
going,
on. Where was it
Andrew's
before
telling-"
when you made eye contact?
What's that?
Where was it before? It was in the
'Cause,
path,
was it
right?
standing in front of
It
you? Was
stopped.
it
It
tap
saw me.
dancing like
Sensed
Michigan
another
J.
predator. It
Frog?
could tell I was there. So it's like 50 yards ahead of me. It turns and it looks at me, okay? And I make eye
Yeah.
contact. I'm not looking away. I'm like, this is my moment. This is the time. I've seen this. It matches the descriptions to a T that
You
we've
were
seen
born
in
for this
Chupacabras.
moment. This is what you were bred for. They built you for
Brian,
this.
You know, and I know you're making light of this thing, but this really happened, okay?
I know. I honestly think you were
It hurts,
bred
Brian.
by
It hurts.
Superman to defeat the Chupacabra once and for all to save mankind.
Defeat the Chupacabra. Enough with this paternalistic macho stuff. This creature has its place on the planet.
Okay.
I mean, even if it did look at me with, bloodlust,
Jealous.
perhaps.
Covetous eyes.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, it was probably
And your
looking at
square
my
jaw and
soft,
chiseled
supple
biceps.
neck, trying to figure out where it was going to bite.
All right. And so it dashes into the bushes and you what? You screamed like a girl and ran away, right?
No, Brian. No, I did not, Brian.
What?
I pulled out my iPhone, and I went into the brushes after it. I'm
Tell-
like, no way.
And he
I
fired
can't
up the
just-
Scream Like a Girl app that he'd been waiting
Yes.
so long to break out.
No, hold on. Did you get video of you going into the bushes after a Chupacabra?
Brian, did I get video of myself going to the bushes? Okay, I got video of the GD Chupacabra.
No way. Show
Yes,
me the
Brian,
video. Show me
okay?
the video.
I look in the bushes. I'm like, I'm not going to find it. Not going to see it. I start recording and pull out the camera. I'm like, I've got to record this. I've just got to record this. Okay. And I know people are like, oh, Andrew, your sense of humor, your mischief, whatever. This is real, folks. This is absolutely real. If I was going to fabricate something, I would have probably gone out of my way to make it way too complicated. Okay. I climb into the bushes and I'm looking around there going, all right, where'd it go? I'm thinking, all right, just keep rolling. And then I notice that feeling that I'm being watched. And I look up and I see something behind a tree. Two eyes come out and peer at me. This hairless face, these sharp little fangs, saying, just looking at me, staring at me.
And
I make a video. And it's kind of blending right in, okay? It's blending into the tree, but I can see it looking at me.
so it's like a Cheshire cat where you just
Cheshire
see
crap.
Cheshire crap. It's like a turd with just a grin.
Well, but I see like the shape of the tree, and then it gets a little bit wider. I'm like, oh, that's it, okay? And then I go to get to a better position, and I hear it creeping up the tree, right? So I move through the brush, and I keeping the camera rolling, mind you. I'm a pro. I look around. I'm like, oh, I lost it. And then I look up in the V of the tree. I see these two eyes peering down at me. It's trying to figure out what I am. Why am I in its world? It's used to people probably running from it, okay? It's used to being an apex predator. And then along comes me. I'm not afraid. Okay, I'm afraid. But I'm not going to let that determine my actions. So I record it, put it into camera mode, get some high-resolution photos, and I put them right up there on weirdthings.com. You can see this thing for yourself.
In fact, actually, the moment you started to say that, I went to weirdthings.com and I'm looking for it. I don't see it on the front page. Is it tucked away somewhere? How do I find it?
Front page, my encounter with the Chupacabra.
Well, it says Chupacabra skeleton under the floor is what I see right here. But that's fine. I'll find it.
Keep going. It's there.
Oh.
Well, let me ask you this, Andrew. Now, we talked a lot about the Chupacabra recently on this podcast.
I know, and of course,
Specifically-
and it's like people are like, it's
Well, let me ask you this.
yes.
The two defining characteristics that we have come to know and love of the Chupacabra that differentiates it from, let's say, a mangy animal is that it stands upright and that it has the mohawk spikes coming down the back.
As you see, like in the you see the artist renderings, always has kind of a reptilian look to it, and the spines down the back, right?
Yeah. Now,
Hairless. We hear hairless looking, sharp teeth, or strange looking hair. So we're watching a video right now for our audio listeners, and what it is, it's showing me walking down the path. I'm just I'm not me, but it's me holding onto the camera, going into the brushes. As soon as I saw this thing, I pulled out the camera, I recorded it. Now I'm trying to look through there. I'm trying to find an entry point just to crawl in there, and I look through an opening in there, and I can actually hear the thing somewhere inside of there. So I try to position the camera to get into that angle, and I can see this. Of course, it's dark, it's shadows, and trying to figure out how can I get this thing onto camera? And if you listen to the audio on this, you just hear me going, what are you? What are you?
You're trying to reason with it. You're like, what must I give you?
I mean, it's like this is
Take
really
Justin Robert Young, please.
Now you can see it in that shot. It's behind the tree. Of course, I'm moving it there. Um, it's up there. You just see that. You see the tail. You see part of it. It just moved behind the tree.
Yeah,
Okay.
barely, man. It's very tough to see. It blends
Well,
in very nicely with the background.
yeah, but you can see it's grabbing the tree, and then it's gonna start crawling up. And so I'm going to I went and I changed angles, and you're gonna see in a second when I move to the other angle. There's a close up photo that shows the thing as it's looking down at me, and you can see it staring right back at me from before. Again, the thing that struck me at first was this: it was a hairless creature. This thing was like this hairless creature, big haunches, and it was capable of going upright. And then, yeah, Brian's freeze framed the image. If you go down,
That
you can.
it looks like I don't know, kind of dirty koala bear or something.
Yeah, it does. It does look like that. There, you can see the eyes, you can see the ears, you can
So
see
what
the
was
nose.
it?
Uh, it was a chupacabra, in my opinion. It was. Let me put it this way: it met many of the descriptions people had for a chupacabra, which in this case it was probably a mangy raccoon.
Wow.
I got a close. I could see more detail than you can see there, but it was his hair had come off, and so he lost his raccoon-like, mask.
He lost his mask. You saw an unmasked. You saw Bruce Wayne, not Batman.
And so he was just up there just staring at me. He's like, "Oh yeah, I got the mange, man. This sucks."
And I wonder if also, especially because if you're in a park, you're in a domestic area, then, obviously the raccoons in that area are accustomed to, not having big predators come after them. So if one were to get mange or something like that, it wouldn't be afraid to be seen by people or whatever. So that's probably why, I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, out in the wild, animals tend to be a little more shy of other creatures.
Yeah, there's a lot of raccoons in South Florida, as we all know, and this one just, I don't know how much, like, mange apparently is a bacterial infection. I don't know how much it affected its physical health, but it was a neat experience.
Well, there's,
because
I'll tell you what about the mange. There was, when we lived in the duplex, our next door neighbor had a dog that had mange, and we watched it over months. I mean, these people really mistreated this dog. They just left it chained in the backyard. You watched as this patch of baldness grew over this dog's entire body. Eventually, now, and when it was about halfway, it had these giant patches of baldness all over it. Our dog started to show like some weird patches. We're like, what is going on? So we took it in, and they're like, oh, your dog, this is mange. He probably got it from another dog. And we're looking at this other dog that's so messed up and diseased. Like, we thought that the bald patches were from scratching or from the dog, rubbing on posts or whatever. But it turns out it was mange, and it was infecting our dog. Eventually, the dog went completely bald. It lost its ability to see because the patchiness, because it also makes puffy skin. It had swelled the eyes shut of the dog to where it couldn't see anything, and they ended up putting it down. I mean, it's terrifying to see an animal that's been completely ravaged by a disease like that. And I could totally understand how, you're out walking around, and especially if you already, if you're on the hunt for a chupacabra, you see something like that. I don't care what it is, man. That's either a mutant giant naked mole rat or a freaking chupacabra.
Well, yeah, it was. I mean, it was fascinating to see it, in person, because having most of the descriptions we've ever heard of chupacabras, when people actually see them in the photos, it's either foxes with mange or raccoons with mange. And to see a raccoon with this fully on mange, there were clumps and spots of the hair where it looked like it was kind of like thin, sweaty hair, and I realized that could look like spikes.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so if the hair is in,
Clumps.
clumps on the, from the top to the back, that can give you the spike look. And really, I mean, that's it. Then all you needed to do is just kind of, on some level be up on its hind legs there, and you got the classic chupacabra look.
And raccoons can stand on their hind legs too, and when they want to look over stuff.
Well, and especially this one hanging on a tree, it's pretty much straight up right.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
That was my encounter, guys. That was my encounter with the chupacabra.
That's awesome.
I'm out there, guys. I'm out there looking for this stuff, trying to.
Well,
So
you're
are
out
you gonna
there.
get you $200 from Daniel Loxton now? You gonna cash in that ticket?
What was that?
The $200 ticket with Daniel Loxton? Justin, what are you talking about?
Yeah, isn't that though? The guy who wrote the chupacabra book that we were talking about. Did he had the bounty
That's
for?
a different guy.
Is that a different guy? Oh, sorry. Sorry to Daniel Loxton and whoever wrote the chupacabra book.
I was about to say. All right.
Well, when I posted that up there, somebody had said, you should go to this place called the JREF and get $1 million.
That's hilarious.
Oh, that's really funny. For those, everybody doesn't know, Andrew ran the $1 Million Challenge for several years, the JREF.
But you know what? Maybe that's what gives him.
Imagine me showing up at the door with this mangy
God,
raccoon
that'd be great.
and a carrier knocking on it. Randy comes here like, oh, hello, Andrew, and inside of there.
No, but I'll tell you what it is. This is like you worked at the facility long enough that you put together the perfect heist, and you're like,
Exactly.
Listen, nobody knows the $1 Million Challenge better than me. I worked
it's
that
like
joint.
the worst heist in the world because I've got this, this angry looking raccoon in there. And Randy's like, let's see it. And he's like, "Nyah, nyah, nyah, nyah." And he's like, Andrew, that's a mangy raccoon. No, Randy, it's a chupacabra. Can I have the $1 million, please?
Look, there's a name tag hot glued to him. It says right there, Chupacabra.
I nicknamed this guy Chupy, by the way.
The friendly Chupacabra. I like that. That was a nice touch.
So, but oh man, like here's Brian and Justin to back me up on this. And they're like, well, Andrew kind of said he knew some science and stuff about this. He just looks at you guys, shakes his head, slowly shuts the door.
We're like, no. And we're like, successful heist. We annoyed James Randy.
Hey, folks, your friend of mine, Seth Wolfson, he goes by Expired Meat on Twitter. Here's the thing with him. He's dying of cancer.
Expired meat. I love that.
Did you not realize you started to laugh just as Justin said he's dying of cancer?
I did not know that.
That's why I stopped to let Andrew continue his laugh as he was so heartily enjoying himself.
Can we just
our friend Seth's immediate and looming death?
That was an unfortunate coincidence. I vote we just restart this this read.
No, we re-rolling. Let's go.
No, we need to cut that part. I know. I heard it was expired meat, and I thought that was, and it is a hilarious Twitter handle.
It is. No, it's very good.
Well,
And
I mean,
it's a good
here's the
thing.
thing.
We're not doing this
I
live,
think
so nobody
Seth,
will ever know.
Yeah, thank goodness.
And here's Seth is very, very, very upfront about the fact that his condition is not something that he wants people to treat him special for, and he has a line of shirts that are all for cancer survivors and friends and family of cancer survivors that have these really, really black, dark humor jokes about about dealing with the disease. So I really don't think that we're going to be offending anybody by. I think his Expired Meat handle is very deliberately humorous, but he has sent along this message. Hey, CSI fans and serial killers. My cancer ain't killed me yet, and I'm re-releasing my forensic sculpting step-by-step in photographs as an ebook. Folks, all you have to do is head on over to forensicsculpting.com, and you can buy his ebook right there. It's only $7.99 to download. $10 gets you... ebook $7.99. You can download and print it yourself for $10, and the print copy all included is $29.99. So do yourself a favor, head on over to forensicsculpting.com and buy Seth's Forensic Sculpting Step-by-Step in Photographs book, and support not only an awesome dude, but also a guy who's battling cancer in a very hilarious way.
Was that forensic sculpting with the Z?
Oh, did I spell it wrong?
Yeah. So it's not. Yeah. So how's it spelled there, Justin?
FORENSICSCULPTING.com.
You know what's funny is I looked at it, I'm like, that looks wrong. But then I went to go change it. I'm like, is it wrong?
Hey guys, you know what? Let's take. He bought that ad read.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's
do a take
give
two
that
on
to
it.
the American Cancer Society.
Sure. You got it.
Absolutely. I'm down for that. Hells yeah.
Yes.
All right. Wow, that's talk about a guy, handling it head on, dealing it right on there. I just thought Expired Meat was a hilarious Twitter handle, and then inappropriately laughed at the wrong point.
No, I think that's that is exactly the point,
Yeah.
actually, and that's why I think we should leave that part in, because that's exactly.
Fine.
No, like he's
fine.
seriously, he sells shirts that are like, I got cancer, and the only thing I got was my balls shaved by this Merce.
My favorite part though is I hear expired meat, and I start cackling, and then I look and I just see you guys just sort of staring
Like
at
horrified, like legit,
me.
like
Horrified. And I'm like, it's funny. It's a funny time. Why? Did you hear the part about
Well, because actually,
cancer?
what I thought you were laughing that you had looked at something else and you were laughing, and I thought it was just coincidence that you was in the middle of us talking about Seth's.
No, I have a blank screen
Seth's
here.
website.
I'm not surfing the web like other people do and lie about it.
that's hilarious.
No, I just thought it was funny, and then now I'm the bad guy.
No, nobody's the
Say
bad guy.
goodnight to the bad guy.
You know who's the bad guy? Cancer's the bad guy.
So, last episode on Weird Things was on the eve of SpaceX making an announcement.
Hell yeah.
We made some predictions, and we were pretty spot on about what the scope of what it was going to be was. And now, we've got word out that Elon Musk has just did an interview in the Wall Street Journal, has said that he would like his goal would be to have a man or a person or a woman or a person of indeterminate gender, what have you,
Chupacabra.
on Mars within 10 years. He says 10 years, best case, 15 to 20 worst case.
So is he talking about totally leapfrogging the moon? Like, just forget the moon, let's just go straight
Yep.
to Mars?
That's what he seems to be talking. I mean, he's
Been there. Did a push-up, ate an egg on it.
What else can you do with it?
yeah.
No more moon. Okay, so this is shocking to me because, number one, the mission itself, you're looking at a 3-year journey, right? I guess 3-year round trip.
probably,
yeah. Year and a half. And even the most rational plans to get to Mars, in the late 90s, that was a big push. They were talking about building a craft in space. You got giant, radiation shields. You have an enormous amount of chemical fuel that you have to make. This would be absolutely extraordinary. I mean, this would be a privately funded mission, or what's the story?
He's not saying privately funded because they asked him about it, and he says he wants SpaceX to be the company that provides the ships that make conquering the new world possible. The shipping line that says that it makes it easier for people to get there and do that. That's his goal. And that's what the Falcon 9 heavy lift launcher they announced, which is going to have the largest carrying capacity of anything since the Saturn V lifter, right? Which dramatically lowers the cost of putting things into orbit, like a factor of 5 or something compared to what we really spend on shuttle missions, etc. I'm getting that number wrong, but it's a big savings. So he's announced that and says it will probably have people on that thing in 2 years.
No, I totally believe that. I mean, once you have the logistics down, now they've only sent up one of these, or is it the kind of thing where it's like from an engineering perspective, when you know as much about the rockets that we know now, is it the kind of thing that you could look at the plans and say, yes, this will work?
Well, what he's done is
we sent him a Falcon 9, right?
They've launched the
not a
Falcon
heavy.
9. The Falcon 9 Heavy is the next generation thing. The Falcon 9 has like 9 boosters. The Falcon 9 Heavy has 27. But they've already done the second stage separation. The rockets have been tested. Now the idea is to basically just put more rocket engines on it.
Right.
And they just got they got funding from NASA along with a couple other companies to develop crew capsules. And so they have the crew capsule, which is the Dragon capsule. And what's interesting about this is he's got the heat shielding on it. And he said the heat shielding on it is rated for even doing a Mars or a moon velocity, meaning that you could land that capsule on Mars.
Wait, land it, or I guess what
Land it.
Shoot some.
Land it.
So what about getting off Mars? I mean, there's so much. It's this. I mean, it could be that that he's enthusiastic or whatever. I don't know. I wonder how much of this is hype and how much he actually believes can make happen. That's extraordinarily ambitious.
Let me give you some details here, okay? So he's got this Dragon capsule, which awesome name, Dragon capsule, okay?
Of course.
They have like
Chupacabra capsule.
They've got that'd be cool too. They've got like 3 or 4 different kinds of rocket engines. They have the Merlin engines to get the thing into the orbit. They have they're working on like the Kestrel engines. The capsule itself, to make something rated for putting crew on, what you have to do, then like you'd look at the Apollo missions, you'd see that rocket on top of the capsule.
Yes.
That was the escape rocket,
Right,
right?
correct.
So to be rated for that, you have to have an escape thing in case the rocket starts to blow up and do that. So what Elon did, Mr. Musk, is they built into their design for the Dragon capsule, they have what are called the Draco engines, all right? Draco engines, there's like something like 18 of them, which if something goes wrong with a rocket, the Draco engines will launch that capsule off separated, okay? And then the parachutes or whatever. Here's what he said, and apparently, those engines are powerful enough. If you launch this rocket and you don't use them because it didn't have to escape, they still have fuel. They're still engines. They could be used for doing like a lunar or potentially a Martian landing.
Wow, that's brilliant. Because of course, in the old Apollo design, like all that rocket was good for was a safety, and once you're up there, there's nothing you could do with it, right?
Right. So the idea there is he's saying that it could be used for that. Now he's got other engines that they're designing. All right, and they've got other idea of like. The beauty of the Falcon 9 is like the first and the second stage use the same engines, but he's got other engines there. There's 1,000 people, guys, who work at SpaceX. There's 1,000 people there. You've got to think that there's a room where there's blueprints on the walls for things they haven't even talked about.
Oh, sure. Man, so do you think that he's hinting at an amount of work that's already been done on this topic?
He's already talked about
this is the brass ring.
What's that?
Yeah, this is the brass ring. I mean, this is what makes, this is the future. Everybody, as NASA's kind of wound, like the space shuttle launches or whatever, as they are, numbered and will eventually be no more. Everybody's talking about like, this is the big, we lose this curiosity in space and everything. But as soon as, we put this in manageable years, and the thing that always, it's kind of stuck with me since he announced the Falcon 9 Heavy, is that like, this is a legitimate presidential debate question, in terms of the future.
One more little bit of information for the discussion. He has also talked about, or SpaceX people have talked about, that they have on the drawing board plans for the Falcon X and the Falcon XX. Okay, the Falcon 10 and the Falcon 20.
Now, wait, which would be even bigger?
It would be bigger. It would carry 250,000 pounds to orbit. Bigger than this. It would be the largest rocket payload ever. Bigger than Saturn V. Bigger than anything, okay? They have sitting somewhere, there's schematics, there's a plan, there's a blueprint from how to get from where we are now. And you want to ask, here's the thing. What is the biggest leap? What was the biggest leap? Some internet gazillionaire announcing, some internet gazillionaire putting a 2-stage rocket into orbit, or somebody taking a 2-stage rocket orbit and designing something big enough to go even further.
So I got a question for you guys. If you could vote, obviously, I mean, this is very exciting. We're finally seeing, SpaceX push the envelope.
We could vote if it wasn't for those criminal convictions Justin and I have.
Yes,
that's right. You could almost vote.
Whatever the terms of my plea bargain, sure.
Which would you rather see, a 10-year plan to land a man on Mars, or a 10-year plan to get the beginning tether of a space elevator? Which would you rather see in 10 years?
I knew you were going to ask this, by the way, Brian. So I already prepared an answer, but I'll let Justin get
Justin? So by all means, since you're prepared, let the unprepared person go first.
Of course, yes.
So, want me to go? I'll go. I mean,
gracious.
I wanted to give you a chance to talk. I didn't want to.
I mean, I'll tell you, I would probably say Mars. I mean, to me, like, the space elevator is a awesome, and potentially, amazing breakthrough in terms of how we think about travel. But at the same time, I think Mars is in so many ways culturally, in this fractured society where we all care about our own niches and we have so few communal experiences that can transcend not only we're more connected, but yet we're more scattered. A trip to Mars and a mission to Mars is immediately a worldwide binding event that everybody understands and everybody can get excited about. And So yeah, I would say Mars, just for the symbolism.
Now, before I, because I do want to hear Andrew's, but let me give the counterpoint, because you say Mars. The thing is you could go to just Mars just once with this 10-year mission, and maybe you've laid the groundwork. You can go back there a few times, but if you build a space elevator, what is it? Was it Robert A. Heinlein who said that once you get out of Earth's gravity, you're halfway to anywhere in the solar system? And so it's like, would you rather get all the way to one planet once, or would you rather get halfway to all the planets of the solar system and beyond? That's why I say space elevator, because that is when all of a sudden you drop down the cost per pound to like $10 a pound. Then all of a sudden you're building the freaking Enterprise. Now you're building like real giant space arcs that fly all around the galaxy.
All right, here's my counterpoint to that, Bri. I love the space elevator. Absolutely love it. But to be talking about a space elevator within a 10-year time frame would be like trying to use Viking longboats to lay the transatlantic cable. There's a technical hurdle. There's a lot of little technical hurdles and things like that we need to solve before we can go as far as to build the space elevator. It'll be a far easier technical achievement for us to go to Mars. There's no way we could conceivably be building a space elevator in 10 years, maybe even let alone 20 years. 10 years from now, we could be going to Mars. We could be developing all sorts of life support systems. We need heavy lift rockets to build a space elevator. We're going to need Falcon 10s and 20s and whatever comes after that, because to build a space elevator, you need to put millions of pounds into orbit to counterbalance it. And you're going to need a huge infrastructure. So I think that the Mars is sort of I think that we'll get there faster by saying, let's, the marginal utility of being able to put things in orbit, go to Mars, and then it becomes a lot cheaper to build things and practical to do a space elevator.
I can't decide if you cheated or not, because the question was, which would you rather see, the first tether established for a space elevator in 10 years or making it to Mars? And your answer was, yeah, there's no way that can happen in 10 years. So
well,
I'll say Mars.
No. I think, and not to put words in Andrew's mouth, but he's saying that the 10-year down payment on a space elevator does not get you near as far as a 10-year down payment for a mission to Mars. A 10-year down payment on a mission to Mars could get you to Mars.
Brian, if the question is, would I want to have a space elevator in 10 years or a Mars mission in 10 years? A space elevator.
Well, I mean the beginning of a space elevator, because obviously you're looking at a very long-term project, but that will be the moment we remember, is when the initial tether is when we have a direct line that goes from the Earth into zero gravity. I mean, that's the magic moment that you'll remember. So I'm trying to frame it as a I don't know. It just seems to me like if in 10 years you got two moments that you could picture. One is, somebody's on Mars, and then the other is we've got this gossamer thread up into the heavens. But 2 years after that, all you do is you get your guys back from Mars. But 2 years after that, on a space elevator, you now have, a 3/4 of an inch thick thing, and then it's a few feet wide.
How long do you see taking from the tether to, like, we can start sending elevators up the space elevator?
20 or 30 years. What you think that's too fast or too slow?
I think to me it'd be like, what about Mars, guys? I mean, I like, look at our elevators.
We go to Mars now.
Dude,
like, this is, because you're like,
but that's just it. That's just it.
And then we could just get them back in 2 years.
That's just it.
That's huge.
You go to Mars.
Do you know what that does for our culture? Do you know
No,
what that
it does nothing for our
how people
culture.
think about space and where our money
No,
goes?
look, you make a beer run to Mars. What do you got to show for it? Nothing. You got some stupid red rocks, and that's it. You make a space elevator. You change the course of mankind for all time.
Space elevator. We're dead, waiting for it. We're waiting for it.
So what? Humanity gets it. My grandchildren get it.
But like, you don't think that a mission to Mars and a continued focus of our interest, resources, and money toward space exploration is helped by a mission to Mars?
All right, here's the difference. You got a small village, and you say we're gonna award 2 contracts, one to Brian and one to Justin and Andrew. And you guys, your job,
Jandrew is what we're called. Thank you, Jandrew Corp.
Jandrew Corp, right?
We'll Jandricize your village.
Exactly, right?
No
and
time.
it's like so start providing water to the village. And you two bastards, you grab 2 buckets and you run on down to Mars and you scoop up the water and you run back and you're like, here, that's $30 a gallon. And you run back and you scoop up water again, whatever. Meanwhile, I'm looking long term and I sit down with an architect and some engineers and we lay out a pipeline.
Dehydration.
We lay out a pipeline, and then all of a sudden, you guys don't understand why you're not able to get $30 a gallon for water anymore, because I'm selling water for 10 cents a gallon because I've constructed a pipeline that'll take you anywhere. Oh, you want to go to Mars? Yeah, no, that'll be 10 cents. You want to go to Ganymede? That's 10 cents as well.
Yeah,
the whole universe is now available for you because I took a longer term view instead of going to planting a flag and picking up some red rocks.
Okay, so Brian, you lay out your blueprints. You go, here it is, guys. Like, that's great. First, we need a rocket.
Well, of course.
And we're like, oh, you mean the rocket we used to put all the stuff? We went into orbit. We went
I didn't
to Mars
say.
on?
I
You want
didn't
to use
say
our
no
rocket? Well,
rockets.
let's use our rocket.
Who said?
But
Who
this
said
is
no
how,
rockets?
This is how rockets become. I mean, this is part of the reason why rockets continue to proliferate, and we have a priority on them.
All right,
Because we
here's
have,
the thing.
We
No, no,
do
here's-
something
look.
with the ones in between the ones that we need to build something like a space elevator.
Right, but you guys are applying this in an inherently wasteful and useless way. Why don't you? If I understand, if
So
you
going
want
to
rockets,
Mars is useless.
no.
There's
Listen
no
to me.
use we can possibly get out of going to Mars.
Listen to me. If you want to go to
Our
Mars,
dad's building a house there right now because he's really pissed off about how he's being treated on Earth. We can go visit that house.
Let Brian go.
you get 3 tries. I start to talk 3 times, and then on the 3rd one, I shut up.
This is awesome. Come on, Brian.
Listen to me.
Stop.
You can go to Mars if you can show the patience to wait 20 stupid more years and do it by way of a space elevator. Yes, you will use rockets, but instead of blowing $3 billion on a round-trip beer run to pick up red rocks, you can invest that to get a space elevator built. Then when a space elevator is built, you can go everywhere. You have a driver's license to the solar system, and everywhere you go is stupidly cheap. Why would you forsake all that opportunity to get a right now beer run out of going to Mars? That's what I don't
Okay.
understand. How is
All right.
that better?
Can I? All right, here. All shouting and yelling aside, I think that ultimately what I am saying by way of, and I think part of Andrew's point is that the 10-year down payment on the space elevator is going to include a lot of technology that right now would be insufficient to start building that kind of project. But as the evolution of something like these Falcon, 9, 10, whatever, through the future rockets, part of what justifies them being made is other kind of scientific explorations that could include a trip to Mars. So a 10-year down payment on a space elevator could very well, I think we could be walking the same path because we need the future of rockets.
I think, Brian, I absolutely agree. If you have to ask me which is going to be the most significant thing for our species, a space elevator or landing on Mars, space elevator. Absolutely. It's a technical achievement. It is this exit point from Earth. Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. I do not deny that at all. So I concede that to you totally. My thinking though, and like again, the part of me that tries to think about this, we talk about, but what's to wait for the saying 30 years out, et cetera, is a space elevator will be the most expensive, ambitious undertaking in the history of humanity. It is going to be the most expensive thing ever done. 10 years from now, a Mars mission is going to cost less than the Iraq War. It's going to cost less than our Afghan expenditures, and will probably net us a lot more than either of those things has gained us. So my take on it is saying that I don't think it's an either or. I think it's a both, and I think if we go for this one thing, that will actually bring that other thing there faster, because part of the reason this is happening, part of the reason there's a SpaceX is because Elon Musk wants to go to Mars. I guarantee you, the guy wants to retire on Mars, and he's spending an incredible amount of time and money, hundreds of millions of dollars on this effort, hundreds of millions of dollars of private capital on this effort because of that goal. And I guarantee you he would like to see a space elevator at some point, but this is a guy that probably, Justin and I were joking that probably in 10 years' time, he's going to have his own probably private space station, and he's going to be taking vacations up there. He's going to have his house in space. And this is a guy that probably wants to live on Mars at some point. And I think that kind of carrot, although it may not have the same sort of scientific or engineering achievement than a space elevator certainly was for their motivation for these guys to go do it. There's a reason why Elon Musk is spending, 40 hours a week on this, 40 hours a week on electric cars and stuff, and we sit around doing magic tricks because he's so driven by the idea of getting to Mars.
Well,
What have you done for your space elevator?
Well, here's the thing: is we've already been through this, and if you talk to most scientists, and in fact, Carl Sagan was a very outspoken opponent of putting people in space. He said, if what you want to do is explore the universe, you can send out 10 robots for the cost of one manned mission. It is silly for us to be sent, there's so much wastefulness that you have to do in order to create a safe environment to send people up into space. And so the space race was not driven by science. It was not driven by a desire to colonize the stars. It was driven by machismo and money. It was our surrogate war against Russia. Now, we've already been through it with the moon, and look at the opportunity cost of how much science didn't get done because we were too busy moving meat onto the moon because it was a sexy target that made a statement to Russia. To me, you guys are just following into the same trap. Now it's a different sexy target.
Short-sighted. I think that is very, very unkind to the tens of thousands of people who worked in the program, who were involved in it, were not into this, were not these jingoistic puppets that you make them out to be. There are people who say that, what science by itself has no value without there being humans to appreciate and understand it. The universe is a cold, hard place that has no love for us. Humans, we give value, we assign value to do these things. And there are people, many, many people who worked on the program, but certainly was absolutely the money, the reason it got funded, all of that came because of the Cold War, without a doubt. But the passion of the science and the engineers was not about, beating the Russians. It was about trying to do the greatest, the new age of exploration. Since we found the New World in 1492, the idea of there being some new territory to go to.
Answer me this. If you could go back in time and have the same budget that was spent on going to the moon and going to the moon 7 times and then coming back, and knowing now what you know, knowing then what you know now, would you have assigned the dollars the exact same way? You don't think we could have gotten way more by
not gone to the moon?
By picking a less sexy but more important target, multiple space stations.
Would I spend the money on something other than the moon?
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I would have gone to the moon. Absolutely would have gone.
And it has to be people going to the moon.
Absolutely has to be people going to the moon.
I think we could have achieved so much more, so much earlier, so much more that mattered if we look. I'm not against people going to the stars. I want all the people to go to the stars, not just some lucky few billionaires or a handful of astronauts, so that we can all sit there and have an electric moment of watching television. I want everybody.
Brian,
I want it cheap and affordable, and there's no way that a mission to Mars is going to yield nearly as much. To me, I honestly don't want to go to Mars until we have a space elevator. That's the only responsible way to do it.
Boycott. Brian, here's my thing. Now, if you asked me if I felt the same way about the shuttle program, the answer would be no. The space shuttle program was an extremely wasteful program. It was, one of the most dangerous forms of space flight that ever existed. It was a screw up in so many ways. But when I look at things that we have, like I'm always skeptical of when we talk about indirect benefits. But we have a whole generation of people, of computer scientists, et cetera, who are the children of people who worked in that program. When we created this thing, this first, not directly up until the time of the space program, the moonshot, if you are a scientist or an engineer, unless you're in a university, just about the only place you were going to work was going to be on military projects, war projects. This was one of the biggest, this is the biggest expenditure in history for a civilian project, a civilian science-related project, an engineering project. And we talk a lot about science, but we ignore engineering. But engineering is what allows us to enjoy science. And that kind of frustrates me because I love Carl Sagan, but he's dismissive to engineering, which makes a lot of things possible. Engineering is how humans use this knowledge. And so my point to that is that it is a dangerous game to get into and say, well, if we spin this will inspire people. I think outside of the moonshot, I can't think of anything else that really would have been as inspiring. But that's my thing, is I think that it was for that time, to be able to do that when we did was, just the mere fact that it wasn't just money spent on a war was a value.
I will. Listen, I'm dumb. and I don't know near as
Yes.
much
All
as
right.
either
Next
of you
time.
guys.
Oh, so there's more.
But I think that there's so much to be said for momentum, and I think that there is a value that I don't know if, I mean, if the goal is I will not go to Mars until I get a space elevator, I don't know if we get a space elevator until we go to Mars. I don't know if we look at that in terms of governmental priorities and political priorities and the kind of, I mean, obviously I'm very thankful that we have people like Elon Musk that want to look, into the future and say, what is next for space travel? Because certainly the people that, had previously been charged in doing it, had not been doing a fantastic job through NASA. You don't get that kind of momentum unless we start moving in one direction. It might not be in the perfect direction, but it is in a direction of the next generation of space exploration.
And I can appreciate that. And from a practical standpoint, I think probably both of you are right. It's the only way it's going to happen. That doesn't mean it's the right way or the most efficient way. It makes me sad that everyone's going to think that, and there will never be an opportunity to know how much money we could have saved by focusing on what would have opened up the entire solar system to us all at once.
Yeah, so you're saying that what we needed was a very centralized economic planning project.
The exact reverse of that. Don't you dare even go down that.
I don't know how else you get your space elevator. Can I tell you the best reaction I think to this was from your daughter Penny when we were at Universal Studios for Islands of Adventure, and we're sitting there. Bonnie was there, and somebody made the comment talking about how the space shuttle, that was going to be the end of manned space. For the American
you guys were
kids.
going to go see one of the last space shuttle launches.
And somebody
while you
mentioned
were in
that was going to be
Orlando.
the end of space flight, for a while, and then Penny cried.
Oh, well, if it was somebody that said something that made Penny cry, that was probably you that said that then. I'm betting.
I don't think I made her feel better.
That's right. Okay. Well, because I do remember you made her cry. What was it that you said that made her cry? There was something. Crap. I forgot. Damn it.
Brian,
Your dad's dead.
Brian's really your father. You're not adopted.
It was.
So anyhow, when somebody came up with the idea, said that, that's going to be the last space flight. That's going to be it. She started crying. And I'm like, oh, no, don't worry. They have SpaceX. There are other rockets coming. There's other rockets coming.
That's awesome.
I'd love to try to tell her about the elevator.
What? In fact, I bought a book on the space elevator. I'm teaching her all this stuff. Are you kidding me?
Reads it to her every night.
Yeah.
Puppy book? No.
She loves.
Okay, yeah, you can go ahead and read the puppy book when you can get it in space on the space elevator. I'm gonna put it in space and you can get it then.
She absolutely loved, and I know it's not time for our picks, but remind me later. And one of my picks will be Daniel Loxton's book on evolution because she loved that book.
Excellent.
Hey, folks. We do a fun podcast here, and you guys help us by putting in your listener spots. But we have another person here. This is very meta, all right? Ben Baker has a new project that is called The Electric Grandpa. It's a horrifying and sometimes comedic look at a world where the dead don't always rest. Relicorp is a company that will create a taxidermy, an automated version of the deceased elderly relatives back to life in the form of, these kind of creatures, right? So through simple programming, Relitechs are given the feeling like your loved ones are still alive. But when the Relitechs experience a widespread malfunction, it forces an entire town's population to fend for their lives against their own loved ones. The Electric Grandpa is the event of one family story, the night of the malfunction. It's a short film, and you can help make it happen by going to Chip In. All right, just go to the Chip In website and search for The Electric Grandpa, and I think they need $5,000 to make the short film, but you can help make it a reality. So head on over there, and this sounds awesome, and I think you guys should all do it because I really want to see a bunch of electriced up old folks.
Dude, this sounds brilliant. Where it's like it's all just saying the old stuff that Grandpa used to say. This is like taking the Afterlife Me idea one step farther. It's just like Afterlife Me, only with Robo stuffed Grandpa.
Exactly. It's only 2 degrees less horrifyingly creepy than Afterlife.me.
Chipin.com and search for Electric Grandpa. Brian, Justin,
Andrew.
Yeah.
Andrew. I've watched some incredible human achievement in my age. I watched two men soar through the air, high five each other like gods. Like one was a Greek god, one was a Roman god. I don't know why that worked out that way. And their hands touched. It was like a thunderclap. I watched just a wave of wind blow through the audience of something like 10,000 people.
Indeed.
And I only wish that there was, a camera further back from the stage to actually capture the whole action.
I agree.
Won't get into that. So anyhow, I've seen some incredible things. Brian,
Andrew?
how outdoorsy are you?
Not as much as I'd like to be. This is the first year in years that I'm actually making the effort to go camping. And to me, it's novel to hook up the propane-fired lava rock faux campfire and, pretend to roast marshmallows and then lay down on a neoprene-padded, super snug sleeping bag and then get up in the next day and hop into a Kevlar-coated canoe covered in DEET so that the bugs don't come by and paddle on down the river and almost imagine what it must have been like to be one of those noble savages back in the day.
How?
Wait, hold on, wait. Is that and just before we get into this scenario, like, is that? I mean, like you're like, oh, like like, aren't we soft sissies that we use all this stuff? Like, that's what you're getting at?
No, what I'm getting at is that I am a soft sissy that uses all this stuff.
You know what? I say lift your head, and I say all you and your family should be proud of yourself because I love us spitting in Mother Nature's face. And I'm sick. I am sick and tired of everybody romanticizing the fact that, like, because we have the ability to make this stuff awesome and cheap, that we should not use it for some bizarre fantasy that things were awesome when we didn't have it.
Well,
Guess what? It sucked when we didn't have it. It sucked even worse when the people before us, when we didn't have that, had even less. And you should be delighted and raise your family to say, you want to know what? Mother Nature is stalking you every day, trying to kill you.
Yes.
And the more that we can burn her house down, the better off we're all going to be.
I'll tell you what, man. It's like I am very in favor of the theme park nature experience.
Yes.
Like I've been
Even
there.
better.
You go to the Moody Gardens, right? And it's like you go inside this sealed bubble where it's air conditioned, and then you go into a room that's like air conditioned, but then also humidified, and then with this carefully climate controlled everything. That is a good simulacrum of the environment that these butterflies would live in nature, but in at the same time, nothing like it. I'm a big fan of that.
Good.
Well, let me take this up someplace, Brian. Human beings are interested because we live on every continent now. I mean, we can we can even spend year round on Antarctica, and we have people who there's a constant human presence in space now, which is kind of an interesting achievement unto itself. That there's always been somebody up there for almost 20 years or so. We see ourselves as these delicate creatures like you describe yourself, but and as you know, some of us are hardy people. What are the upper limits? What are the outer limits to our endurance when we start to cross over into sort of the X-Men mutant kind of realm?
What do you mean? Like, if we had some lucky mutations? What more could we endure than we do now?
Not even that. I mean, like if you met somebody who could run 30 miles an hour,
okay,
do a 2 mile minute.
Okay.
I mean, a 2 minute mile rather.
No, I like that too, man.
120 mile. Yeah.
He's able to make 2 miles in a minute. Yeah.
Could do a 2 minute mile. All right.
That's a pretty, it's like.
What would you say?
I am talking, so I am completing this 2 minute sentence in 2 miles.
What would I say to somebody who's crazy fast? Hello, please sign this contract that gives me 15% and I will make you a star.
But I mean, would that shake your reality?
I would say, hi, my name is Justin Maria.
And the next lap, you're like, no, seriously, I haven't even think about it.
Would that shake your reality?
No. I believe that number one, mankind keeps getting taller and stronger and fitter and smaller. This is they have to reset the IQ every 10 years because it goes up like 5 points or something ridiculous. I made those numbers up. It doesn't surprise me at all that we would be achieving new things and that a more robust. Yeah, one of the things that happens, the eugenics movement was based on the idea that only the right type of people should breed. But you don't realize that intermixing of the types of individuals who would never naturally hook up with one another has
Makes
unexpected
the best models.
has unexpected benefits. And so,
Yao Ming.
what's that?
Yao Ming.
Exactly, right? And so as a result, we got people who out in nature, they're a couple feet too short, so you get eaten by a lion, or
So like the fastest sprinter ever has been like something like 27 miles an hour. Okay. So it's not unreasonable to think that somebody might come along who could do 30 miles an hour and actually do it at some sort of sustained pace. So like we could get that, 2-minute mile.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think it's totally believable.
Do you think there might be people on Earth right now around us who maybe didn't get into sports, maybe didn't push themselves as far enough, and we might have more potential people out there who could be?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like
Sure.
how often, in fact, a friend of mine named Paul Springer, his son just never was interested in track. He just wasn't into it. One day he just shrugs his shoulders and says, I'm going to go out for track. Runs like the 100-meter dash in 11 seconds. He blows everyone away. He had this massive amount of ability that he never even realized, right? And I think there's a number of people that due to, for lack of a better word, market inefficiencies, never realize that they've got the goods.
Even like extreme outliers, like there might be somebody right now who could do that, a mile in 2 minutes.
Andrew, are you that little boy?
We think about, Lance Armstrong's a great. I don't know
Only
if
when he
you've heard of him. He's
rides
some guy
his
from
new
Texas.
friend, the chupacabra.
But, he's a guy that, his physiology was perfect for riding a bike.
Yeah, boy, that was did you see some of the stuff on that Discovery special about him where
Yeah.
they're talking like, oh, by the way, his heart is like the size of a racehorse's heart.
His
Yeah, it's
size,
kind of the-
his heart is actually the size of Secretariat.
Three
Like, not
sizes too
Secretariat's
large.
heart,
It's
at
the reverse
actual-
Grinch effect. His heart is 3 sizes too large, and that's why he wins.
It's just beating so fast that we can't see it. It's moving at that kind of rate.
Like when I saw that made me like sad. I was just like, oh, I guess he just won the genetic lottery, and it wasn't, I mean, I guess it's true. It was his heart that made him pull through and excel, but just biologically speaking.
Well, but then again, like anybody who's competing on that level probably is greater than the average in terms of having those kind of physical and genetic gifts. But like it's certainly for Lance in particular. I mean, what always made him succeed at the Tour de France were the Alp stages and everything, where his specific genetic anomalies were the difference between him and a bunch of other riders.
Yeah.
So
That
I'm
and
gonna bring
steroids,
up
if you believe
a
the French.
person who had totally flown below my radar, Wim Hof. Have you heard of this guy?
no.
Yeah, the Iceman.
So Brian, what would you say to a guy that climbed to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro in his shorts?
What?
All right.
What?
February 9th, Hoff reached the top of Kilimanjaro in his shorts. Took him 2 days to get up there and 2 days to climb back down. Okay. He has the world record for endurance in ice. Okay. He spent an hour and 44 minutes sitting in a plexiglass box or clear plexiglass filled with ice cubes. All right.
That's effed up is what that is.
All right.
Which means, of course, that Blaine has probably talked to him, and I would pay money for that conversation just to hear, Wim, what's up? It's David.
So
David.
he's done a 57-meter swim under the ice. You can look this guy up on YouTube. All right. He failed, but he made a good effort to climb Mount Everest wearing nothing but shorts.
No. Like
Yeah.
just a pair of shorts. And at what point, halfway up Everest, do you go, it's a little bit nipply. I think I'm going to turn around and head on down.
This guy's a mutant. I mean, this guy is odd. I mean, he says that he uses tantric practice and breath control and yogi techniques to control the extreme cold temperatures. And we've got everything up on weird things. So they've actually put this guy into the lab, and this guy's body, his thermostat just works different than ours, and it appears to be under his control.
Number one, have any of you guys read the Mars trilogy? Red Mars, Green Mars, Blue Mars?
By Ben Bova?
No, by Kim Stanley Robinson. Yeah.
No, not yet. No.
There is a character who develops this abnormality, who seems to do it. And of course, I'm sure Kim Stanley Robinson drew his inspiration from its rumor that monks can control their heat, their body heat at will. The Tibetan monks.
Wim claims to use some of the same techniques.
Yes, and so that's part of the reason. This is a case where this character, was a little bit more naturally predisposed to the conditions of a continually terraforming Mars. Number one, I totally believe. I think it's all totally legit. Number two, I'm going to say prediction in the next 10 years. There will be a major study of the genetics. They're going to completely map this kid's genomes. And there's going to be gene therapy and medicines that allow you, because that energy has to come somewhere, right? Mm. And so what we tend to do, because we don't move around enough, we store all our extra energy, our caloric energy in our body. Meanwhile, I think if you could take a pill that would allow you to run hot to where you walk around, if you live in Detroit, you just don't wear a coat for a few days, and
it's called cocaine.
That's yeah. And but your body temperature could run warmer, and you could suddenly be thin and svelte. I predict that this could be possible.
Well, is that theoretically the idea behind some of those like Dexatrim and some of the like Stacker 2, those diet pills, is to have you warm? Yeah, so you sweat like a pig, and you jitter around like a meth addict all day.
Yeah, I mean, it's speed up your metabolism. So but here's a guy, and here they asked him why he wanted to, and apparently got criticized. Edmund Hillary's ascent of Mount Everest was a testament to human achievement. He said, "My climb of Mount Everest in my shorts will be a monument to the frivolous, decadent nature of modern society."
Oh, that's so great! That is so great. This
rules.
This climb will completely trivialize one of the greatest achievements of the 20th century.
Yeah, I mean, apparently that lasted. I don't know if he has plans for another attempt, but and it's funny. Like Mount Kilimanjaro, I assume is like cold, but I'm a guy. If the temperature dips below like 65, I'm putting on a jacket.
There's a reason you live in South Florida.
Yeah. So if you go there, you can see the article we have on him. But I mean, there's people been claiming for a lot of times that, that how much people can control over their physiology, and there's so much bunk in there, it's hard to do. But they did a thing where they injected him with an endotoxin. He actually was able to increase his immune response.
Wow. Like, wait, look, at will? How do you measure that?
Justin did the piece.
Yeah, and I'll have to look at it so I don't get any details wrong. So, Andrew, can you give me one more fun fact about Wim while I pull it up?
Okay. Well, I mean, the idea is that, if you have the idea of having some sort of being able to connect to your immune response or increase your immune response is pretty interesting. So they take endotoxins, a dead cell wall component of bacteria, and they put that in people to find out how the immune reaction affects itself. And apparently that's one of his extreme parts of his physiology. He was able to have a dramatic response to that much more than other people. This guy's superhuman.
Yeah. So basically, in the study, normally what happens is that you are injected with the endotoxin, and then almost immediately your body triggers flu-like symptoms. But when they injected the toxin into Hoff, and he had his, he meditated in the way that he says he controls his internal thermostat, he had no symptoms whatsoever. He was basically able to adjust the temperature of his body to stave off what his body would have naturally done.
That is
Well, was he adjusting his temperature for that, or was it a different response?
That's what he says he does. He says that he uses his brain to turn quote unquote up and down his own thermostat.
Okay, I wasn't sure that was how he affected the endotoxin.
Well, he certainly like even if all he did was stave off a fever or whatever, then he certainly resisted the effects of an endotoxin. If one of its attributes is that it induces that physiological response, and he was able to fight it.
Yeah. So there you go, Brian. There's something to shoot for.
It's freaking amazing, man. There was a great short story that I read back in high school. I think it was written back in the golden age of science fiction, which is I believe this 40s, 50s. But it was about a bunch of kids being who were growing up in Mars, and there was these domes that were pressurized with Earth-like conditions in them. But they part of their regulatory part of the way they were raised was they would take a drug called daptine every day. And daptine had this amazing ability of essentially an accelerated evolutionary effect. The way the backstory they tell it is they gave daptine to a rat and started with low amounts of X-rays and eventually got to just an insane amount of X-rays, and the rat was totally fine. And likewise, they were giving it to the children, and meanwhile, they were lowering the air pressure inside these domes to where at first, the caretakers, the parents, were able to walk around comfortably, but eventually they started to have to wear slightly pressurized suits or have oxygen on or whatever. And meanwhile, the children, they grew very hairy to deal with the cold, and they grew these very big lungs that they were able to breathe in the thin atmosphere of Mars. Obviously, we know a lot more about Mars than we did back in those days. And the end of the story was, of course, the whole purpose is to prepare these children to populate Mars. But the children were not happy with the rate that things were moving forward. And essentially, the end was like, yeah, we're pretty much done. We're gonna kill all the humans tonight because this is our home. And then that was the end of the story. But I always thought that was a neat idea that there could be a drug.
Killing the parents? Yeah.
No, yeah, killing parents and taking over a planet. I mean, how great is that? No. The idea of accelerating natural forces, and especially in unpredictable ways for different environments.
Well, my belief, and I'm glad you asked me about this, Bri,
Justin,
is I think if we ever meet aliens, like advanced aliens that come here, they're gonna have the capability of shape shifting.
What?
Yeah. We're a short ways away from it ourselves.
What do you mean?
Well, you think about it. I mean, we do very, very primitive forms of it one was medical stuff to try to repair, injuries. Then it got into cosmetic stuff. Now we do mild forms of it, like, adjusting athletes' muscle ligatures, things like that, to try to improve athletic performance. We're going to get to a point where we're going to be able to, through medical technologies, be able to control certain reactions within our bodies, and then we're going to get to a point where we can step that up even further, where we could, you could have breast implants that increase or decrease size. Then you start moving a little bit further into where you can just start rewriting your parts of your DNA or how your muscles work, and I think it just sort of, you get from there to a point where you're a shapeshifter.
Wow.
And there's no reason why a civilization that is visiting interstellar communities would not have learned these lessons, I guess.
Yeah. I think that, why have a spacesuit? I mean, you have a spacesuit, but why have a spacesuit when you can just be adapted to the planet, flip a switch? I mean, we use machinery to do this now. When we want to go scuba diving, we strap on a bunch of air tanks and all that, and the goal of that technology is to make it as smaller and as streamlined as you possibly can. If you could take, if you were a scuba diver and you could have some sort of implant in your body that allowed you to store an hour's worth of oxygen,
I don't see any reason why you wouldn't, of course.
So I'm just saying, following that course through there. So that's my thought. Yeah.
Well, folks, Bill Meeks is a friend to this podcast, and he got a podcast of his own. It's called oldwideweb.org. And he has something really, really cool. Basically, every single week or every single episode, Bill has people on to talk about a landmark event in early internet history. So head on over to oldwideweb.org and take a listen. I very much enjoy the show, and I think you will too. Oldwideweb.org, because it happened in the past doesn't mean it's useless.
Is that his tagline, or did you just give that one for free?
That's for well, you paid $30 for the spot, so it's not free. But it's my
that was a little jury gold just sprinkled on top of that.
I was gonna slide that one over there, and I'm gonna wink at him on the way out of the talk shop, as I like to call it, when they buy the reads.
You're like
welcome to the talk shop.
You ordered up an ad read, and you're like, you know what? I made a jury special, no extra charge.
He's like, this is terrible. I would never use this.
Gentlemen, is it time for picks?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Who would like to go first?
I would like to go first. First of all, you heard me mention Kim Stanley Robinson's Mars trilogy, which I'm surprised that you guys haven't read it. It was a landmark book for me or set of books for me to read at the time. And also there's the collection of short stories, also in the same vein, in the same universe, called The Martians. It is a highly scientific, highly believable and realistic account of how in the next couple of hundred, maybe 200 or 300 years, we could terraform our red neighbor. And by that I mean Mars. I don't know what else. What else I could have
China.
happened.
Okay, all
China,
right.
yeah, take on China.
Yeah.
Terraform
Ever since
China.
Brian moved next to the Indian reservation.
Okay, hold on. But the important thing is one of the great things about that series is how you genuinely come to just know the planet. There were little things. For example, the fact that the Martian day is 24 hours and 20 minutes. So the way they deal with it is they have a regular 24-hour clock, but every night at midnight, it freezes for 20 minutes, and they call it the time slip. It's this magical time in the middle of the night where all the clocks just stop for 20 minutes. And the idea that you just know because you spent 3 books in this world that the Martian year is equivalent to 2 Earth years, and it's fantastic from a political standpoint of finding out at what point because essentially you have another colony situation, only instead of having it be by the oppressive regime in England, it's an oppressive regime from the United Nations. Really enjoyed it. Highly recommend it. It's been over a decade since I read it. I'm gonna have to go back and read it again.
Wow, there you go. Cool. I will go next because I so declare it. My pick is a television show.
See, this is the other thing. I'm glad I went first with this other one because I knew we were. This is all. Can we just declare this? This is all of our pick.
Yes. Well, I will support Andrew's pick of the Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Did I tell you that I was watching Max Headroom?
Dude, Max Headroom is awesome.
Actually, I have been watching Max Headroom, but no, the pick that I'm gonna go pick is Game of Thrones.
Now, had you read the books? I know Justin had not.
I listened to the first half of the first book.
Right.
And that was, I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed what I was listening to. I loved it very, very much. It was one of those things where I'm not a guy that's into sitting down and reading a 1,000-word fantasy novel.
1,000 page. That's
Yeah,
even
1,000
more than
page,
1,000
sorry, yeah, I know.
words.
1,000 page. I mean, this is the first book is larger than the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yes.
So-
it is truly epic scale, and it moves with a glacial pace.
Yeah, and it was very, very well done. Very much enjoyed it. It's one of those things like, man, I'm going to get back to this. But then a couple years ago, I was sitting at the offices of my agent in Los Angeles, and I overheard a conversation behind me, and I heard the words Game of Thrones, casting. I heard the name of a potential person who was going to be cast in this, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. They're making this into a movie. I'm like, screw this audiobook. I'm waiting for the TV show.
Yes.
So I thoroughly enjoyed the first 2 episodes. Absolutely loved it. My dad's been watching it. I called my dad, talked to my dad about it. Justin comes over. We watch it over here. And anytime you take a book, especially a lengthy work like that, and put it into a new medium, you have to make changes. And so they brought in George R.R. Martin into this, who's been a TV writer. Actually, was a TV writer before he worked on the series
Back in the 70s, yeah.
Yeah, they brought him in. They did something very, very clever too. Was because not all the books have been written yet. What's going to happen in the series, much to the frustration of some angry fans. They sat down and they said, "Well, who's important? Who do we need to keep our eye on? What characters do we need to focus on that maybe people who've been reading the books don't even know are going to play a major role?" And so I think some people, there's been kind of a tonal shift to some characters that has been frustrating. But I get the idea that was absolutely intentional given where the books are going to go. But in any event, very well produced, very, very well done. And the idea that we're going to get 10 hours of epic fantasy on television and it's been renewed already for season 2, which will be the second book. Thrilled.
Yes. Yeah. No, and it really is that good. And over on Frame Rate, Tom Merritt and I were talking about it. All of our quibbles are so minor, so tiny. Somebody wrote me an interesting letter saying, I've just started the first book. I'm maybe 200 pages in, and I've seen the first 2 episodes of the show. Should I just watch the show, or should I hold off on watching the show until I read the book? And I told him, I was like, look, man, you've got 8 more weeks. You can finish 800 pages in the next 8 weeks. You got 2 months. Have a race, and then experience the 2 of them in parallel. Maybe at some point the book will be a little bit ahead. Sometimes the TV show will be a little bit ahead. I say
horrible idea.
Why is that a horrible idea? I think it's a great idea.
Because if it diverges or goes in different directions or they change the order and stuff happens, I would be so confused by that.
Oh, I have more faith in his ability to understand that he's experiencing 2 stories in parallel than you,
you're projecting
apparently.
What you wish you could do onto this poor person that you've now told them to do this.
No, I think it's going to be great.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's. I don't know if I would do that. In fact, I would not do that. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea. It's one of many experiences that you could have with 2 separate, takes on the same story.
I think it's a brilliant idea, and I'm sure people would like to share that.
Well, there we go. So you can get the book or get the audio book and watch the series. I would like to clear up. I mean, I've joked around with Andrew but I said earlier that it was a workmanlike performance because I referred to the first episode as workmanlike, and I did so because I felt that it was it moved a little slow, but again, this is a show with a lot of very intricate moving pieces that really rely, and your enjoyment of the story and how they tell the story is dependent upon how well you know the motivations and the characteristics of all these characters, and it's a very, very large cast. I thought the first episode did a lot of doing that, and I think what I was remiss to mention when I said that the first episode was workmanlike is that the final 5 minutes, I would very much say is kind of the starter's pistol for which gets off, the series, the plot that we will all pay attention to. Everybody who's watched the pilot will know what I'm talking about. Everybody who hasn't, then watch the pilot because you really should. What was that?
They get off the island.
Yes. Well, I mean, as Damon Lindelof, I'm sure, is watching, and with his new bizarre feud with George R.R. Martin. So it's a fantastic show, and it's enough for me to actually go over to Andrew's house and watch a HBO show in first run, which I have not done. I've not renewed or gone out of my way to buy HBO since The Wire ended, and I'm very excited.
Thank you, sir. It's enough for you to come over here and watch it. Wow.
Well, I mean, because I've watched other shows with you, but
is it to the rats running across the floor for?
Oh, calm down! Why it always has to be about you, doesn't it?
Oh, it's my house.
No, but I will say,
I just haven't watched an HBO show.
Is my furniture not good enough for you for any other purpose?
I will say
we watched Lost at your house. I'm just saying that I haven't watched an HBO series.
What is it? I'm sorry. What can I do to not make having to come watch something at my house such a chore?
No, you're just. Oh my God! It always.
You're like, well, for one, stop being so passive aggressive. No, I will say that HBO. I have not had HBO for like 5 years, and so this caused me to re-sign up for HBO. And the neatest thing was calling and talking to the person at Time Warner, and just a random person on a queue. I was just like, "Hey, so I heard Game of Thrones is coming out tonight," and she goes, "I know." Like, her excitement was palpable. She had read all the books, and she was a fan of several other series that we were familiar with, including The Dark Tower. And it's really great to share an electricity for. This is going to bring something to the masses that is a very unique story that I have enjoyed a lot reading and look forward to enjoying again in future seasons.
I mean, in the same week that Game of Thrones came out, The Hobbit started filming. I mean, how awesome is that we can look forward to. We know that we're going to get the first book of Game of Thrones. We're going to get a Hobbit movie, the next Game of Thrones movie, then another Hobbit movie.
That is awesome, actually. Now that I think about it, we got all kinds of.
The Dark Tower movie, and then miniseries, and then
TV
movie.
shows, yeah.
Yeah, and then and you know what they're doing on the Dark Tower is they're doing a movie, and then what happens between books 1 and books 2, or I'm sorry, movie 1 and movie 2 will be a miniseries on television.
I just said.
But then between movie 2 and movie 3 will be another miniseries that will be a prequel. So movie 2 and 3 will flow right into each other, but between the two, you'll get a prequel of what happened beforehand, and so that's why it was very complicated casting for the guy to play Roland of Gilead.
Yeah, they're going to be like an Academy Award-winning actor.
5-star awesome.
What's that, Justin?
So I think it's 5-star awesome. And I am super,
Good time to be a
pumped.
geek.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely. And the one thing I was talking to Brian, we were talking about this at some point this week, that it's very, very interesting to see specifically this show in comparison with, let's say, The Walking Dead on AMC, where you have the creators of the source material involved very heavily in the in the process here, and to see, if you have these very long stories, as Kirkman does with Walking Dead and Martin does with Game of Thrones, to go back and kind of get your second crack in a different medium at these origin stories, and knowing that you have to make certain changes to fit it into a television, the television delivery method.
Format, yeah.
What would you change? And what they've changed either subtly or casting wise is really just fascinating to me.
Absolutely. And to Walking Dead, a good point there too is also that you have with Darabont doing that, who is by far been the best person at adapting Stephen King stories. There's people like guys like Mick Garris who've done more of them, but not to knock Mick Garris, nobody really outside of who reads Fangoria would remember, any of his Stephen King adaptations as fondly as Frank Darabont.
I mean, outside of Frank Darabont's work with Stephen King, the only really good Stephen King movies, in my opinion, you got maybe The Shining, which is unfortunately an adaptation that Stephen King himself hated. He hated it so much he insisted on remaking it as that terrible miniseries,
which I liked,
with the guy from Wings. I did not care for it. Yeah, not compared to the Kubrick thing, but outside of that, were there any home runs that were Stephen King's movies?
Hasn't he softened on that? I think I remember King saying that he's kind of softened on his legendary.
Well, maybe so. Maybe so.
Home runs would be, I don't know, like Shawshank Redemption.
No, I said outside of Darabont.
Outside Darabont.
Outside of Darabont.
Outside of her.
Yeah.
You would have Misery, Rob Reiner.
I didn't like Misery. I thought that was silly. I thought I actually ended up accidentally bursting out laughing during one of the fight scenes. It was unintentionally hilarious for me.
Yeah, it was well received by the Academy, but they'll take your note into consideration. And I think it's like made AFI list. I love Misery. Needful Things I thought was a really strong movie.
Did not see Needful Things.
Yes. Enjoyed Needful Things. Stand By Me.
Oh, Stand By Me was another good one.
Yeah. No. I'm sure there've been like, I think he's done. You start looking at how many of them have been made into movies, and you see a lot of the ones that weren't really great ones, but then you look at some of the other ones.
Sleepwalkers. Do you see that?
Yeah, but then you
crap?
go back in the day, Carrie.
So vitriolic, Brian.
Dude, that's 2 hours of my life I'll not get back, man.
You ever see Carrie?
I did, and it was a lovely coming-of-age movie until it suddenly turned into a silly gore fest. It was just ridiculous all of a sudden.
Listen to you. It was a silly gore fest. Yeah, it's the whole point.
No, it's okay. Well, I mean, we have this discussion elsewhere. I am not happy with the vast majority of Stephen King's adaptations, especially when you've read the books.
Totally with you. I would say.
I think on balance, Frank Darabont has a knack for finding the right voice for it, but by and large, many people do not handle it well, and I end up disliking or certainly liking the movie far less than the original work, and with the I'm just very, very worried because it's Ron Howard who's going to be doing the movies for The Dark Tower, and The Dark Tower is very precious to me, so I'm just nervous about that.
I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you on that. I would just say, like, I would put, like, I think Care is like one of like De Palma's like best works, in my opinion, but
I really like the first
De
2/3
Palma's
of
only
it.
got a few of them too. De Palma's kind of an overrated director.
And it's like if you pull up like the list of Rotten Tomatoes or like IMDb on stuff, the ones you see that keep ranking pretty high would be like that aren't Darabont. You would see Carrie up there, and a few others, but it's all right. Yeah. It's okay.
What was your pick, Justin?
All right, I have a couple, kind of a real quick buffet of picks. Number one, the self-serving ones. So I put up there, or I said last, I think 2 weeks ago or last week, last episode, Grendel's Shadow was one of my picks. We just completed the audiobook for Grendel's Shadow, which I narrated. So look for that, andrewmain.com/books, where you can get that and the a physical copy of the book, the likes of which I'm holding in my hand right now. Also,
Which is not available, but you can dare to dream.
oh, okay. Oh, we're not doing that.
Not yet. No, it's not ready yet.
The physical copy.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Then I will have to change that on all the episodes. But I was reading Jurassic Park, the book, which I have never read before, but I was reading because, we were talking about the movie and how much Brian, Brian's, how he looks at the movie differently because he read the book. And so I started reading it because Andrew bought it when we were on our last lecture tour through Ohio and Pennsylvania. And I'm very, very, very much enjoying it. And I encourage, if you were a moron like me and had never read the book and really, really liked the movie, please read the book, because I'm like halfway through it and I'm very much enjoying it. And although I don't think it is, at least so far, has affected in any way how much I very, very, very much enjoy the flick, it is certainly awesome. And it's one of those things that, Crichton is an author that I've read very little of, but always enjoy everything that I do, and hope one day before I die to be not as moronically uncultured as I am right now. But the reason why I only got halfway through reading Jurassic Park is because your friend and mine, Andrew Main, handed me this black binder that I won't talk about, but I'm a quarter
It's
of the way
probably
through that.
not as good as Jurassic Park.
Not as good. I don't know. I'm very much enjoying what's in the black binder, but that we'll save what's in there for another episode of.
One of the things I loved about Jurassic Park, and Justin and I went on this long trip and we started talking about monsters and dinosaurs and stuff, and that got me thinking about Jurassic Park. So I'm like I got to read that book again. I got it because I haven't read that book in 20 years, and the thing that I loved when I first picked it up was, if you read it, the first prologue, the prologue about it is explaining to you that this is something that actually happened. So when the book came out, like 1989, 1990, and it's telling
91, I thought. 90, I thought it was definitely early. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong.
I think
probably
maybe
wrong.
89 actually.
Yeah, we could look it up, but I'll go that. So within a 2-year period of when Brian and I are trying to figure out it came out.
Yeah.
Because like the movie was, probably maybe 90, because the movie was 93, I think.
Yeah.
So anyhow, it's written from the point of view like, like this totally happened. But 1990 is what it says on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
So here you have this book that tells you, first genetic engineering's making headlines. People talking about the possibility of cloning, the whole thing about, could we clone the quagga, which all that stuff. And so he writes this great book that I don't think he really wanted people to believe this really happened, but it was written with enough terminology, enough science speak, mentioning real corporations and fake ones and locations and stuff, that was just such a great idea to sell you on a science fiction concept that if today somebody said, hey, we actually think we can clone you have a Discovery Channel special talking about Jack Horner talking about, re-engineering a chicken into a dinosaur.
Yeah, well, and I'll tell you what, Michael Crichton himself was shocked to hear real scientists talking about these ideas. I mean, it's like, and maybe, that's not to say he couldn't have stumbled into, an important idea, but he regarded it himself as like, guys, it's a science fiction book. What are you doing? He was shocked that people were taking these ideas seriously.
Go look at the Wikipedia page where it gets to the section where people talk about the science of it. And like, well, the thing they overlooked was the methylation on the surface of, and it's like, I don't think he overlooked that. I think he was trying to tell a story.
Exactly.
It's not a how-to manual.
Exactly.
Although Jack Horner has now written How to Make a Dinosaur. So,
awesome.
have you heard about what he's doing in the project?
No, tell me.
So he's got some different researchers that have found some interesting things. Like they've got a guy that was looking at embryos of like chickens, like baby chicken embryos, and they noticed that at a certain point, characteristics that would make what we'd recognize as a dinosaur and a bird different. Although birds are obviously members of the dinosaur family, but when we think of the Jurassic Park ones, is dinosaurs have fingers, long tails, teeth, right? There's pretty much those three characteristics. You get those three things, and we realize now that a lot of dinosaurs have feathers. You ask a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, do dinosaurs have feathers? They'll go, oh, yeah. Or you ask a
Wow.
5-year-old to describe a dinosaur, and they'll say probably some had feathers or whatever, which is just amazing how things have changed. But they found, for instance, like the tail, like an actual tail, not plumage, but a tail, that in looking at embryos of like baby chicks, that at a certain point there's 18 vertebrae that would form a tail, but then they all fuse into like 2 or 3.
Wow.
So if you can interrupt, so one guy's trying to figure out how to interrupt that fusion of that. And so the idea is that what they want to do is they want to build a dinosaur by going back and looking at the DNA and what's happening at certain points and just switching on or switching off things. Birds have in them the DNA for teeth.
Wow.
So switch on in that's something they find at embryonic stage, these little teeth that fuse into something else. So just go in there and say, hey, not only can we build a dinosaur, we can prove to you evolution's this real thing, because here's all of
You can
the
see all the
information.
stages as right in front of you as it goes. That's unreal, dude. That's insane.
Yes, it is. You could say, it's been weird. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Weird Things Podcast.
What?
And
I
Chupy, the friendly chupacabra.
Yes. Oh wait, I do have one more thing I wanted to mention.
Don't
before
forget
we-
to say hi at weirdthings.com.
So our friend Scott Johnson, who does the morning stream show, which is a morning podcast, I am on there now every Thursday doing a little weird news segment. So if you like this show, and I think you'll like the morning stream, then make sure you download the episode this and every Thursday, because I'll be talking about fun, weird stuff. So check that out.
Very cool. When I think of the morning stream, something totally different comes to mind.
Well, I think that was intentional. I think that's why he named it that way, partly.
He is the craziest man in Salt Lake City, that Scott Johnson. So
That's some heated competition.
By the way, I think it's great that you're doing the morning stream as a regular gig. I think that is so win-win. I mean, it's like if I'm Scott Johnson, I'm like, what? You mean Justin Robert Young's going to show up on my doorstep and give me awesome things to talk about for the next 20 minutes every Thursday? Yes, please.
Well, there we go. And all it took was somebody doing a actual morning show on Mountain Time, so it actually fit my schedule.
All right, save it
Yes, please.
or flush it. Flush it down the shitter.
Could open up the chat stream and find
Yeah,
out what
finally
it is.
we can see how we did.
There's like nobody there.
yeah, turns
Can
out
you-
we're all.
Boring.
start and
Gone.
restart?
Later.
Hang on, sorry. Oh, stupid. 1 second, and we're done. We had 100 people the whole time. That was fun. Did I hear Justin right? Did he ask me to stop and restart something? Justin,
Yeah.
did you need me to restart something for you?
Yes, your
Video stopped again?
yes, it did. Like halfway through.
Oh, wow.
It's still working for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and
No,
it's,
I don't know what it is. Like it actually doesn't stop. It just goes very, very, very slow.
That sounds like a bandwidth thing, maybe on your end, or.
Yeah, I don't know. What
I mean, if it's working for me, then
Yeah.
that means it's coming out of Brian. Fine.
well, and also I'm looking at the preview, so I'm seeing it in there.
Well,
for-
no, I mean, and I'm not saying that it's not on my end. I'm saying that when Brian restarts it, it works
for a while.
for a time. So-
Okay. 11:0428. What do we want to call this one?
We laugh at cancer.
Laughing at cancer.
No.
Dan Dirks was saying nice things.
Well,
On the
of course
Twitters.
he is.
Did you just dismissively, snidely? Well, of
Thank you,
course
Dan.
you
I
did.
appreciate that.
No, I loved it. Dan knows that I have. I have
Um,
an inappropriate man love for him.
Chupy, the friendly chupacabra.
What's inappropriate about man love, Justin?
No, this man love is inappropriate, mainly because I give him state secrets that he needs to. I'll just whisper them in his ear.
part jobs in your cabinet that he's not entitled to.
Yes. I'll whisper to him the flaws in Obama's long form birth certificate.
Oh my gosh, yeah, right?
I was thinking, how funny would it have been if he released it and it was like, and here it is, my Kenyan, don't.
Or he gives it as clearly like, just scrawled with crayon on a napkin.
I am from America.
I are American. Okay, so let me save this as well. Saving it twice. So I definitely will have it. I'm about to fill up my 2 gigabyte or take 2. I'm about to fill up this whole crazy 2 terabyte drive with just
That's cool.
horseshit we've done.
I
2.8 Chupy. Hey people, what did you guys think of the show? The Alien Return is a totally random guy that just showed up? That's kind of cool.
Hey, look at that.
We have a true like honest to goodness random person.
A noob.
What did you think? That's and not that I don't love all the members of Chat Room, but Chat Realm, but I want to. I'd love to hear what a newbie wants to say about it. Demon 5 points out we mentioned that for our audio listeners. I think it's fine to say that because it indicates that there's a reason that we're reacting to something now.
No, the reason I said for our audio listeners is that when video starts playing on here and we're reacting to video, and because when we normally do this, we're not watching ourselves. We don't want to sit there and not, because we start speaking and haltingly, and I think it's important to point out when Brian's playing a video of the whole chupacabra thing. Kind of need to point out what we're looking at.
Yeah, of course. So, since none of us could see the chat room, seriously, Mars or space elevator? I just gotta know. Just a flash impression. What were you guys deciding at that moment? Oh wow, look at this. It's halvesies.
Space escalator.
Wow,
well, Brian, you need to ask
50-50.
that question fairly. Mars in 10 or space elevator in 50?
No, well, okay, no, what I said was landing on Mars in 10 or the first thread established in 10, which I do believe we could do.
I mean, we did Crash Course too, but I think because of marginal utility, we won't. Mars elevator, there you go.
Mars in 10 and space elevator in not feasible. You mean ever? I disagree, actually. When you're looking at a world where we've got projects in the works to build a bridge across the Straits of Gibraltar, we've got freaking carbon nanofiber technology.
Alexander the Great was building bridges to inaccessible places, Brian.
I'm just saying. There's no technical reason that we couldn't pull it off.
Yeah, we could use our Viking longboats to lay the transatlantic cable, Blow up the moon. Oh yeah, that was a plan of ours, wasn't it?
We were trying to blow up the moon or blow up Earth?
I think we talked about blowing up the moon once, crashing the moon.
No, we were trying to destroy Earth.
Oh yeah, well that would involve the
plan
moon.
was to, yeah.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Like, we got hardcore. We really wanted to blow this shit up.
Oh, good. Blow up the moon, I assume, is reference to the classic Mr. Show sketch.
Yeah. RJ Jackson points out, says, I don't see why we need to go to Mars. I think it's just a waste of money. The beautiful thing, RJ, is most of the R&D that is going into the heavy lift stuff is not coming out of your pocket. Senator Brian is yet to unveil how he plans to pay for the space elevator.
Dude, for profit. It's called opening a toll road.
So,
that's just it.
Okay. You want to build this toll road. Where's the $1 trillion going to come before you can charge your first toll?
Investors.
You're gonna sell space elevator bonds?
Maybe.
All right.
What's the return on investment for your Mars bonds?
Well, I'm saying,
What are you going to offer your investors? You're like, listen, I would like all of you to give me a lot of money so I can go to Mars because there's a bitchin' party over there I got to hang with.
How much did the Falcon 9 cost you, Brian? 0. Goose egg. Okay. How much did the Falcon 9 Heavy launch development cost you? Nothing. Okay.
But at some, I don't understand your logic. Are you saying that you're saying Mars is a free trip? I don't understand where this is coming from.
What I'm saying is we've already got private enterprise laying down cash for that.
But what's the point of going to Mars? To go and kick a rock over? Who's going to pay $1 trillion for that?
Who's going to pay $1 trillion for a war? It's not going to cost $1 trillion to get to Mars.
Okay. Go on.
I'm saying is that, getting there, which would you rather do? Trek along the Oregon Trail in a wagon or take an airplane?
Okay. You know what? Which would you rather do? Make up some random parallel that has nothing to do with the conversation or actually discuss the matter?
Well, Brian,
Wait, it's coming from Doctor I live in a village and here's bucket of water for sale analogy.
That's on point. But what is this? What is this like? Which would you rather do? Die of pestilence or have $1 million? Huh?
What I'm saying
that's my point. My point. I think I'm clearly right.
Oh, Brian, there are a lot of engineering things that need to be solved.
Oh no, okay, yeah, no, okay. Dying of pestilence is great. Okay, no, I got you. That's great.
That's fine. All right.
My name is Justin.
I suffered your moronic
forcible rape is wonderful.
Example,
I understand.
I'd like to make my point, but please keep interrupting. It's much more fun that way.
I only stopped because you asked me to keep going.
All right, it's all fine. It's all part of the show. I think all I'm saying is that there are we're not the heavy lift stuff to get us into orbit and to be able to take us out of orbit, the stuff like that, the Falcon 9 Heavy, the Falcon 2X, whatever, is stuff that you would need that anyways if you wanted. You're going to need something to get you up into space to go there. Having the biggest cost of development is going to be having these heavy lifting rockets.
You're selling me on ancillary benefits. You're using the Tang and Velcro argument, and that's something.
No, how the hell are you going to get your space elevator? Are you going to throw rocks up there?
Wait, okay,
how
no.
Plan on getting this up there?
No.
What's going to carry this up there, Brian?
You will need the heavy lifting, but you can't tell me that 99% of the Mars mission is going to be just figuring out a way to get heavy stuff into space. You're going to waste a lot of time that's not necessary for that, and it's not going to be helpful to getting a space elevator built.
I think that we have very, very different ideas on what we think the engineering, what is the engineering problems between landing on Mars and a space elevator. To me, Mars is a difficult enough challenge. A space elevator is such an order of magnitude much more complex to be able to do that. It's not and I know it's fun to put it into a binary, either or kind of thing, but my goodness, I mean, Mars is hell of a lot easier for us to get there before we can talk about building a practical space elevator out of materials we don't even know that we have yet, and haven't even solved a number of the problems that we have to figure out. The environmental problems, all of the legal, the government, all these other things are going to come into play, because it's when you decide you're going to build the largest structure ever made that, if it came broke, snapped, or toppled down on there, it could lay waste to parts of the planet and cause humongous problems. When we can't even build oil derricks, off of half the places we'd want to. Mars is a cinch.
The disconnect that I don't get is, Mars is easier, but it's not a matter of the space elevator being slightly more important. It's a matter of the space elevator being absolutely crucial to the long-term survivability of our species, and Mars being an idiotic publicity stunt nets us nothing.
But it's not.
It nets us the journey itself nets us nothing. You could get
that's not true. That's absolutely not true.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
I listen to you a lot, and when I try to make a point, you get upset and you don't let me finish mine. Let me continue on. I'm just going to say this, okay? Let me throw this out, then use it however you want. You keep repeating this, and I let it go. You keep saying that, getting there, it's a publicity stunt. We don't get anything from it. obviously we want to get, you do believe we want to live on Mars. We do want to get there. So you're saying there's no gain. And I don't want to, you keep using your own terms. There's absolutely no gain in putting people on there to find out what we can learn about surviving there.
I am telling you that all the benefits you've given to choosing Mars over investing in a space elevator.
And again, it's a silly choice, but it's a, one's going to cost trillions of dollars to do versus tens of billions.
What I'm saying is that all of the benefits you have listed, you would get without ever even bothering to make the mission. You could spend 10 years preparing and get to that moment when you press launch, and every achievement, every technological advancements you could have without even bothering to go. So what is the point of even bothering to go? If what you're trying to sell me on is the ancillary benefits and of the research and development to make these things happen, well, why not just research and develop and make those things happen? Why do we have to go on a 3-year mission to touch red rocks? It's idiotic compared to the benefits of a space elevator.
The idea is not just to touch red rocks. I mean, the thing that Musk talks
about
is...
And don't sell me on inspiration. And even the momentum argument does nothing for me.
The inspiration's not going to come out of my mouth, okay? If you're going to make up stuff for me to say, make it slightly more intelligent, okay?
Well, it is stuff that I was saying.
Stuff that Justin actually said. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Musk and
Please, don't, Andrew, don't take personally the insults that are directed in my direction.
Part of what Musk and other people like the Planetary Society talk about is the idea of a sustained presence, not a let's go. In your vision of what we would do is prejudiced by how the government did it and not like how private individuals. Musk and others, they talk about if they wanted to go to the moon, to stay there. If they talk about going to Mars, the idea is to stay on Mars, not just to grab some rocks and say we're done. He wants very much to build a sustained presence on there, and part of to do that is building a thriving economy in space, trying to wait for that economy to materialize in the idea that we're going to do this colossal $1 trillion project that would bankrupt any government right now to do that, to wait and say, no guys, let's not have any thriving space exploration. Let's not be finding out what money we could be making off of asteroids and these other things right now. Let's wait until we get to the space point where we have a space elevator, which will probably go bankrupt before we ever finish, giving the history of every single human scale project on that level, from making the Suez Canal, trying to make, the Panama Canal, the English Tunnel. Every one of those things has failed multiple times before we ever finished it. To think that we're going to back in the first attempt that we're going to succeed at our space elevator without solving all these other technical problems,
that's just it.
To me, that's crazy.
So you're right. We shouldn't bother to do it. We should continue to take a stagecoach.
I don't think we should use Viking longboats to lay out fiber optic cable.
But that's just it. You're saying let's use our Viking longboats to sail to fucking Mars. I'm saying, what are you doing in a Viking longboat? I'm saying you want to go to Mars at $1,000 a pound, and I'm saying don't go to Mars on dial-up. You fucking build broadband, then you start going places.
How much is that space elevator going to cost?
Dude, I mean, look, I can make up numbers just to. I mean, what do you want me to say?
I've seen the number. You've seen these estimates on the stuff.
They're all estimates. You don't know. Let me get this straight.
I think that's the point, though.
Is it going to be the one government project that's actually cheaper?
First of all, who even said it would be a government project? I don't understand why you're so hostile to the idea. Here's the problem. Again,
everybody I know who's interested in doing a space elevator project in private enterprise wants to go to Mars first. Okay, everybody I know who's actively investing in space exploration and who loves the idea of space elevators, it says, let's do this Mars thing.
Okay.
Well, that's where the smart money is.
Okay. So let me get this straight. So far, you've used the argument of everybody you know thinks one way, so I should believe this because everybody knows, and all the smart people think this. So
Brian,
you want to throw an ad hominem in there as well?
Hey, Brian,
your
you want
hair
to make up
sucks,
another argument
idiot.
that I didn't say? Brian, what I'm saying is where the money is being invested, where private enterprise is going right now, where dollars are being spent on this, okay, by the people who have the interest, the people who are putting their money where their mouth is, the people who, if there's some other group that's going to make this happen, tell me who they are, but the people in private enterprise who are interested in space exploration, people who are funding things like, the space the space elevator projects and stuff, all seem very focused on Mars, okay? Now, that's not an argument from authority. That's an argument from, it's an economic argument. Okay. That is where money is that not where the money is being spent? Am I mistaken there? Are they not spending money on these things?
We got to have some kind of signal or code that indicates it's safe to actually talk.
You do it anyways. Go ahead. Answer the question. Do not wait for the translation.
The question was, which would you rather see?
No. The question was,
apparently I don't know. Apparently me, the person asking the question,
an answer for.
No. Look, I first of all, the question that we are discussing is which would you rather see?
Oh,
I'm the one who asked the motherfucking question. All right. So don't tell me what the new question is. The question is, which would you rather see, and which would be the more important achievement? And to begin, would you rather see the completion? And in my mind, this question: would you rather see the completion of a fantastic PR event that will have side benefits that are very important, or to see the beginning of something that will fundamentally change our ability to get off this rock? And